In 2028, a luxury apartment complex named Mirai Heights opened its doors in Tokyo. The 32-story structure was designed around a smart security grid. AI-controlled systems logged every physical entry and exit, creating a closed, perfectly monitored environment where anonymous movement was physically impossible. But within a month of residents moving in, strange reports surfaced online. People claimed they were seeing someone inside the building who did not officially live there. Management dismissed the claims until security footage leaked. Cameras repeatedly captured an unidentified woman wearing a gray coat and carrying a black umbrella. She only ever appeared inside the building's elevators. She never walked through the front doors, and she never left. In a facility where every physical step is recorded, a person existing entirely within transit shafts defied the basic logic of the system. A 29-year-old juror named Kevin Brooks heard the stories and decided to investigate. He rented an apartment on the 21st floor, expecting to find a glitch in the security software. For a week, the building was perfectly quiet. Then, on his 8th night, Kevin stepped into an elevator alone at exactly 11:42 p.m. Halfway up to his apartment, the car unexpectedly stopped at the 17th floor. The doors opened to an empty hall. As they began to close, a pale woman in a gray coat stepped inside. She held a black umbrella and stared straight ahead, completely ignoring his presence. She reached out and pressed a glowing button displaying the number 33. Mirai Heights only had 32 floors. The elevator bypassed Kevin Vildop, accelerating past the top level and continuing upward. The doors opened to a dimly lit corridor. The digital display read 33. Kevin had reviewed the architectural blueprints himself. He was now standing in a physical space that the building's structure could not support. 3 nights later, Kevin returned to the 33rd floor. The environment contrasted sharply with the rest of the tower. Softly flickering lights illuminated old, peeling wallpaper that belonged to a different era. Dozens of heavy doors lined the walls. Kevin walked the length of the corridor and counted 117 separate apartments, far exceeding the physical footprint of the tower. Beside each door was a brass nameplate. Kevin photographed several and searched them online the next morning. Every single name matched a real missing person, people who vanished in different countries across different decades, going as far back as 1964. He went back a 3rd time, bringing a hidden camera. He knocked on the door of Emily Carter, a woman reported missing in 2018. She answered, looking perfectly healthy, but panicked when she saw him, whispering that visitors were not welcome. At that moment, every door in the hallway opened in unison. Hundreds of people, men, women, and children, stepped out into the corridor. They didn't speak. They simply stared as they began walking slowly toward him. Kevin narrowly escaped back into the elevator. The 33rd floor was a physical trap, actively collecting those who had slipped through the cracks of society. The origin of this anomaly required looking past the modern steel of Mirai Heights and examining the soil beneath it in the 1970s. In 1976, another residential structure occupied this exact plot of land before being destroyed by a massive fire. According to official municipal records, 33 people died in the blaze. Witness testimonies buried in newspaper archives painted a different picture. Survivors claimed the building was heavily overpopulated with undocumented tenants. These victims were completely unknown to the state, with no identification to record. Their names were successfully erased from public memory. Official records stop at those 33 documented deaths, leaving dozens of other occupants to drift into complete obscurity. The tragedy scarred the location, turning the physical space into a holding pen. Floor 33 exists as a localized spiritual quarantine, drawing in those whom the world no longer remembers. Determined to understand the full scope of this phenomenon, Kevin returned to the elevator one last time at 11:42 p.m. to confront the woman in the gray coat. When he asked what this place truly was, she finally answered him. She explained it was the destination for those nobody remembers, and confessed that she was its very first resident. Stepping onto the floor, Kevin walked to a window at the end of the hall. He expected to see the Tokyo skyline. Instead, he stared into a dark, endless void of monolithic towers, each glowing with millions of apartment windows. The woman pointed to a distant tower, explaining it was designated for people from his world. Looking closely at one of those distant windows, Kevin saw an older, pale version of himself staring back, mouthing a silent warning to leave. The hallway lights immediately failed. Thousands of doors opened simultaneously, and a chorus of voices echoed through the dark, commanding him to stay. Kevin sprinted back to the elevator, barely making it inside before the doors slammed shut. Marai Heights was merely an access point to a much larger architecture, one that exists wherever a name is erased from memory. The elevator dropped him safely in the lobby under the morning sun. Kevin immediately packed his belongings and moved out of the building that same day. He spent the following months writing a book about the investigation. Most readers dismissed it as a work of fiction, and new tenants continued leasing apartments in the building without incident. The story seemed closed until Kevin opened an email from a reader. Attached was a photograph of the digital directory board standing in the lobby of Marai Heights. The board listed Kevin Brooks as the resident of apartment 2117. He checked his own bank statements, searched government databases, and old tax records. Every single one had been retroactively altered to show he had lived there for 3 years. Now, every night at exactly 11:42 p.m., his phone lights up. The notification has no sender. It contains only 2 words, Floor 33. Reality is beginning to mirror the hallway Kevin escaped. By documenting the forgotten, he had provided the building with the records it needed to rewrite his life and claim him as its next resident.